Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Welcome back, Sip and Talkers.
I am absolutely buzzing today. I've got my coffee, I've got my notes, and I am ready to go.
I can see that. You seem more energetic than usual.
Oh, I am. Because you need to put down whatever you're looking at, your spreadsheets or whatever, because I have some huge news.
Oh, yeah.
Earth-shattering, wallet-fattening news. I saw the headlines this morning, 20 billion RMB.
Okay.
20 billion. I mean, I almost booked a flight to Shanghai right then and there.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I was picturing it. Me on the bun, shopping bags, just living my best life. I thought, finally.
Final what?
Finally, Beijing is, copying Taiwan's homework, that they were going to hand out the big stacks of cash.
Ah, okay. The big red envelopes.
Yes. I was ready to literally salute my computer screen and say, thank you, big spender.
Okay, well, before you pack your bags and book that non-refundable ticket, I need you to take a breath. And then I need you to take this calculator.
A calculator? Come on, I don't need a calculator to know that billion with a B is a lot of money.
It is a large number. In isolation, sure.
It's like the GDP of a small country money.
It can be. But in economics, the numerator is vanity. The denominator is sanity.
The denominator.
You have to look at the denominator.
You mean the people?
Exactly, the population. We are talking about a stimulus for China.
Right.
That's 1.4 billion people.
That is a lot of people.
It is. So do me a favor, just punch in 20 billion on that calculator.
Okay, fine, Mr. Buzzkill. Let's see. 20 followed by a lot of zeros.
I divided by 1.4 billion.
Divided by 1.4. Okay, equals, wait.
What does it say?
Is this thing broken? It says 14. Wait, no, hang on. The decimal point.
Let's look at the actual source data here, the specific allocation it works out to be.
It's 1.42 RMB.
Okay.
Is that right? 1.4 RMB.
That's about right, yeah.
It's like, what is that in US dollars? 20 cents?
Roughly 20 cents, yeah.
20 cents. I can't buy a bottle of mineral water for 20 cents. I can't even buy like half a stick of gum in Silicon Valley for 20 cents.
And that right there is what we call the reverse demographic dividend. I can see the smile literally freezing on your face.
Froze. It shattered. Completely shattered. I went from planning a shopping spree to realizing I can't even afford the subway ticket to get to the mall.
And this is exactly what we need to unpack today.
Yeah, we do.
We're calling this the 1.4 RMB shock bomb because it's a fascinating case study in an expectation versus reality.
It's a huge case study.
Why did those headlines make people's blood boil with excitement only for the calculator to bring this, this awkward, deafening silence?
It really is a shock.
Yeah.
It honestly feels like a prank.
It's not a prank, it's policy. But to really get it, we have to look at three things.
Okay.
First, visual deception. Second, what we're calling the definition gap. And third, the thank you time lag.
Okay, visual deception I get. That's the big, shiny 20 billion number that gets your attention.
Exactly.
But what's the definition gap?
It's the huge difference between what happened in Taiwan, which was actually profit sharing, and what's happening in China, which they call a consumption subsidy.
Consumption subsidy. Okay.
And then you have the time lag. That's that, that brief, beautiful window where you say thank you because you think you're getting a real gift.
Right. Before you realize the gift is, it's a rounding error.
It is a rounding error.
Right.
Brutal, but true.
Wow. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. You said consumption subsidy. That just sounds like a fancy word for a coupon.
That is precisely what it is. And that brings us perfectly into our first major segment here, deconstructing the gift.
Yeah, let's deconstruct this. Because this doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like they're distributing loneliness. Like, here's a tiny crumb. Now go enjoy your feast.
Distributing loneliness is a good way to put it. It's a bit more complex than just a crumb, but the mechanism is what really matters.
So what's the mechanism?
I was looking at the data from Asia Financial, and this is from February 2026. The total allocation for this Lunar New Year stimulus was approximately 20.5 billion RMB.
Okay, so the pot of money is real. It exists.
The pot is absolutely real, but... And this is the giant, but unlike the Taiwan model or, the American COVID stimulus checks.
Right, where the money just shows up.
Exactly. This is not cash hitting your bank account. You don't just wake up, check your banking app, and see a nice little deposit from the government.
So what is it then?
It's primarily distributed as vouchers and coupons.
Oh, no. I hate those. It's the spend 100 to get 20 off trap.
That's the one. It is a conditional gift. In order to unlock the government's money, you have to spend your own money first.
Of course you do.
It's designed as a lever, you see, to pry open your wallet, not as a deposit to actually fill it up.
So wait a minute. If I'm broke and I don't have that 100 RMB to spend in the first place,
And you get nothing.
I get zero.
You get the loneliness you were just talking about.
Wow. That's kind of messed up.
It's a different economic philosophy. Let's put it in a comparison table to really visualize this gap.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Taiwan, 2023, they did a cash handout. The total was about 140 billion new Taiwan dollars.
Okay.
Every single person got 6,000 TWD, just cash, in their account. That's about 1,300 RMB.
Okay, so 1,300 RMB in Taiwan versus 1.4 RMB in China.
On average, theoretically.
That's not even a gap. That's a chasm, a universe apart.
It's a massive, massive difference. And in China's 2026 case, with that 20.5 billion RMB total, if you average it out, you get that theoretical 1.46 RMB figure.
The 20 cents.
Right. But again, because it's all coupons, it's not even that everyone gets that 1.46 RMB. It becomes this kind of digital race.
It's the Hunger Games of coupons. You have to fight for your 20 cents.
It creates this core friction. The consumer has to perform labor.
Labor.
Yes. You have to spend your own money. You have to download specific apps. You have to click buttons at a certain time, all to access this tiny benefit.
That is exhausting just listening to you describe it. But you mentioned Taiwan, and I know you have an update on that because you were like frantically scribbling in your notebook before we started recording.
I was, yes. I had to update my mental manual. It was outdated. We need to talk about the 2025-2026 latest version of the Taiwan benchmark.
Oh, they did it again. They gave out more money.
They did, and they went bigger, much bigger. In late 2025, Taiwan initiated what they called Return Tax to the People 2.0.
I like the sound of that.
And they raised the handout from 6,000 TWD to 10,000 TWD.
Ooh, 10,000. Let me do the conversion here on my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. That's roughly 2,250 RMB.
Correct. So now we're comparing 2020 50 RMB in Taiwan to, again, roughly 1.4 RMB in China.
That is a disparity of over, my God, 1,500 times.
It's staggering.
Okay, wait, how? Just how? How is Taiwan, this little island, handing out stacks of cash like they're Oprah? You get 10,000, you get 10,000. Where is all this money coming from?
It comes from a very specific and, frankly, very fortunate economic reality, a massive tax surplus. In 2024, Taiwan had an excess tax revenue of 5,283 billion TWD.
5 trillion.
Trillion with a T. And this was driven heavily by corporate taxes from the semiconductor and AI boom.
Ah, the chips, of course.
You're looking at TSMC and companies like it. The AI revolution is quite literally paying dividends to the people.
So it's not the government being generous, it's the government having too much money.
And this is a crucial philosophical difference. In Taiwan, the narrative isn't, here's a gift. The narrative is profit sharing.
Right.
The government collected more taxes than they budgeted for, so the people, and especially the opposition parties, argued that this money belongs to the taxpayers. It's a refund.
That makes so much sense. It's like if a waiter overcharges you in a restaurant, you expect the change back. You don't expect them to give you a coupon for 10% off your next meal.
That is the perfect analogy, and the process matters too. You mentioned earlier that the China stimulus feels like a favor, right?
Yeah, totally. Like a random act of kindness or not so kindness.
Well, Taiwan's handout was debated ferociously in their legislative yuan. It was an absolute brawl.
Oh, I can imagine. Politicians yelling at each other on TV.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
The ruling party, they wanted to use the surplus to pay down national debt. The opposition parties were screaming about fighting inflation by giving money back to the people.
So they actually fought about it.
They debated, they argued, and finally they voted. And because of that whole process, when the money hits your bank account, it feels like a right.
Not a favor.
Not a favor. It feels like the result of a democratic contract you have with your government.
Versus like a random Tuesday where the government decides to toss a few digital coins into the ether and make you fight for them.
Precisely. And we should also consider the psychology of the amount itself. We can call this the zero pocket money versus life-saving money dichotomy.
Okay, explain that.
10,000 TWD. I mean, that's real money. That allows for a family vacation. It buys a new washing machine or a new phone. It's tangible, positive reinforcement.
It's a treat yourself day courtesy of the government and TSMC.
Exactly. Now, 1.4 RMB, what does that feel like?
It feels like an insult.
Yeah.
It feels like a dilution of dignity.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned earlier that I wouldn't spend the mobile data to download the app for it. And I'm serious, data is expensive. If I have to download a 100-megabyte app to get the equivalent of 20 cents, I am literally losing money on that transaction.
That is the very definition of economic inefficiency. When the cost of access is higher than the benefit.
It's absurd. But surely the rest of the world sees this, right? I mean, 1.4 RMB international economists must be just scratching their heads.
Oh, they are doing much more than scratching their heads. They are writing some pretty scathing critiques.
I bet.
And that brings us to the international perspective. We looked at analysis from places like Bloomberg and The Economist.
Okay, the big guns, and what's the verdict?
The Western economic view is very macro-focused. They look at the big picture, and they see 20.015% of China's GDP.
0.0015%.
Yes. They see that number, and they essentially see it as a joke.
Ouch. That's harsh.
To actually move the needle in an economy that massive, to really fight the deflationary pressures they're facing, most economists argue you need a stimulus of around 3 to 4 trillion RMB.
Trillion, not billion.
Trillion with a T. That's about 2 to 3% of GDP. That's a real stimulus.
So they are bringing a water pistol to a forest fire.
A water pistol might be generous. It's more like a single drop from a leaky faucet.
Wow.
The critique from the outside is that this isn't macro stimulus, it's symbolic redistribution.
So it's a PR move.
It's a PR move designed to look like you're taking action without taking on the actual fiscal cost of that action.
But why? I mean, China has money. We see them building cities and high-speed rail. Why are they so stingy with cash handouts to their own people?
And that is the fascinating billion-dollar, or rather trillion-dollar question. It's ideological.
Ideological how?
There is a deep-seated institutional fear in Beijing of welfarism.
Welfarism. Like they're afraid people get lazy if you give them money.
That's the core of it, yes. There is a prevalent belief within the administration that if you give people direct cash transfers with no strings attached, they will become indolent, that it will undermine the work ethic.
So instead of just giving people cash?
They prefer supply-side subsidies.
Okay, explain that to me like I'm 5.
Okay, instead of giving you $100 to buy a new refrigerator,
right,
they would rather give the refrigerator factory a subsidy to make their fridges cheaper. Or they'll give you a coupon that only works if you trade in your old broken fridge for a new one.
I see. So they want to control what I spend the money on.
They want to stimulate production and infrastructure. They want to see factories humming, bridges being built, people trading in old appliances for new ones. They don't want to just give households the freedom to spend or save as they see fit.
So it feels like they trust the factory owner to do the right thing with the money, but they don't trust me, the regular shopper.
That is a very fair assessment of the underlying logic. You see it clearly in things like the trade-in subsidies. They'll announce, say, 3,000 billion for appliance trade-ins.
Which sounds like a ton of money.
It is, but it's all tied to industrial output and specific consumer behaviors. It's not free cash.
It really feels like the government is just trying to create the vibe of doing something.
Yeah.
It's like when you clean your room by just shoving everything under the bed.
That's a great way to put it.
The room looks clean from the doorway, but the mess is just hidden. The fundamental problem isn't solved.
And that's the supply side obsession in a nutshell. But let's pivot for a second to the ground level. Because despite all this math, despite the mockery we're kind of indulging in here, some people in China are genuinely saying thank you for this.
Really? That brings us to that ant and elephant meme I saw online.
Explain that one.
It's this cartoon where, people are asking, why are you thanking the elephant for stepping on you just slightly less hard this time?
It's a harsh meme, but it does capture a certain segment of the sentiment.
A pretty big segment, I'd imagine.
It is, but we have to look at both sides. Let's call this perspective A, the survivalist.
Okay, the survivalist.
You're right, not everyone is a middle-class urbanite. The 20 billion isn't perfectly averaged out to 1.4 RMB for everyone.
So it's targeted.
It is.
Yeah.
If you look at the low insurance population, what's known as the Dibao and other extreme poverty groups, the targeting is very different.
So for them, it's not actually 20 cents.
No. For someone who is earning less than, say, 1,000 RMB a month, a targeted subsidy might be 50 or even 100 RMB.
Okay, 50 RMB is, well, it's not a new phone, but it's a meal. Maybe a few meals.
It's what they call timely rain. It's a little bit of relief when you have absolutely nothing, and the psychology here is really key.
How so?
In a system without a strong sense of entitlement, where you don't expect the government to just give you things, any gift, no matter how small, can be seen as imperial grace.
The government remembered me.
Precisely. I was invisible, and now for a moment, I am seen. There is genuine gratitude there, and we shouldn't mock or dismiss that.
No, absolutely not. That's a really important point. If you're starving, a crust of bread is a feast.
Exactly.
But what about the people who aren't starving? The huge, sprawling middle class in the cities.
Well, that brings us to perspective B, the mockery.
The mockery.
And this is where your Xiaomi versus iPhone analogy from earlier comes in perfectly.
Yes. Okay, so for anyone who remembers the early days of smartphones, you'd have these phones that looked just like an iPhone.
The form factor was identical.
Right. They had the notch, they had the shape, the button placement, but then you turn it on.
And the illusion shatters.
Instantly.
Yeah.
The software is clunky, the app store doesn't really work, the screen is dim. It's just a cheap copy.
Copying the form, but completely missing the substance.
Exactly. And that's what this feels like.
Yeah.
China is copying the form of Taiwan's handout. Look, world, we are giving money to the people.
But they missed the substance.
And what's the substance? Two things. They missed the value, which is the actual amount of money, and they missed the democracy, which is the feeling that this is your right, not just some favor.
And the user experience is terrible, to continue your analogy.
Oh my God, the user experience.
We talked about the hand speed competition.
The clicking, the endless, stressful clicking.
For the average urban worker, getting this stimulus is literally a digital race. You have to be on a specific app at 10:00 a.m. sharp to click a button to claim a coupon before it runs out in seconds.
I have enough stress in my life. I really don't need to add coupon anxiety to the list.
And the sentiment online reflects that. The comment sections, at least before they get scrubbed, are absolutely brutal.
I can only imagine. What are people saying?
Things like, 1.4 RMB isn't enough to buy the bottle of water I need to rehydrate after the workout of clicking the button.
That is dark poetry. I love it.
It is, and it highlights what we could call the censored truth. Much of the real criticism, people saying, just give us 2 RMB, is that too much to ask? Or, this is frankly insulting, it gets deleted from platforms like Weibo almost instantly.
So all that's left is the positive stuff.
All that remains is this curated wall of thank you, the government is so generous.
It's a Potemkin village of gratitude.
Which is actually a perfect segue.
Oh.
We're talking about this disconnect, a huge gap between what is presented and what is real. And this isn't just happening in economics, it's happening in language too.
Ooh, okay. Are we talking about the kill threshold? Because this story made me cringe so hard. I think I almost pulled a muscle.
We have to talk about the kill threshold, or as it's known in Chinese, Shaxian.
That sounds like a heavy metal band. Or a video game boss.
It sounds like a video game because it is from a video game.
And that brings us to our next segment, the language of disconnect.
Okay, set the scene for us. What happened? Okay, so picture a formal press conference, very serious setting. You have a Chinese reporter standing up to ask a question to a U.S. State Department official.
High stakes, diplomatic stuff.
Very serious business. The topic is sanctions. And the reporter asks the official about the kill threshold of the sanctions. He says, what is the kill threshold?
And what was the reaction from the U.S. official?
Just visible confusion, maybe a little bit of a cringe. Because in English diplomacy, that's just not a term we use.
Right.
We use red line, we use bottom line, we might use breaking point.
Kill threshold sounds like something you shout when you're in a heated match of League of Legends or World of Warcraft.
That's exactly where it comes from.
Like, he's in the kill threshold, use your ultimate, execute him.
It is 100% MMORPG and MOBA slang. It's gaming terminology.
So why on earth would a professional reporter use that in a diplomatic press conference?
And this is the critical piece of analysis. The reporter wasn't really talking to the U.S. official.
He wasn't. Who was he talking to?
He was performing. He was performing for the domestic audience back home in China.
Ah, it's theater.
It is internal propaganda masquerading as external diplomacy. By using a cool, tough-sounding gaming term like Shaxian, he sounds really strong to the young nationalists watching on Weibo.
So back home, they're like, yeah, look at our reporter asking the tough questions about the kill threshold.
Exactly. But to the person he is actually supposed to be communicating with, the American official, he just sounds like he plays too many video games and doesn't understand diplomatic language.
Like a complete breakdown of communication.
Total breakdown. The U.S. official doesn't really understand the question, so they give a vague boilerplate answer. But the clip gets sent back to China, edited for effect, and everyone claps.
It's the art of talking to yourself.
That is the perfect phrase for it. And think about the parallel here. Handing out 1.4 RMB and calling it a major stimulus is saying to yourself, I am benevolent. The reality, it's 20 cents. Asking about the kill threshold in a press conference is saying to yourself, I am tough. The reality, no one understands what you're talking about.
It's a self-created delusion bubble.
It's the self-intoxication of a state-controlled narrative. But there's a darker irony here that I really want to point out.
Go on.
The narrative uses this kill threshold language to blame external forces, specifically the U.S. sanctions, for the economic pain that people are feeling.
Right. It's the foreign enemy's fault that my life is hard.
The Americans have put a kill threshold on our microchips, and that's why the economy is struggling. But just look at the math we did at the very beginning of this conversation.
1.4 RMB.
Yes. The real tangible kill threshold for the average Chinese citizen's spending power isn't a U.S. sanction on a semiconductor company. It's a domestic policy decision to allocate a stimulus that amounts to 1.4 RMB per person.
Wow. That hits hard.
The pain is primarily from domestic resource allocation. It's not just foreign containment. The government clearly has the resources to alleviate that pain. We see it in the trillions they spend on infrastructure. But they are choosing not to give it directly to households.
That is the real threshold that matters.
It is.
That is just... It's heavy.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense when you frame it that way. It's a classic misdirection. Look at the big bad wolf outside your door, say you don't notice the empty bowl on your own table.
Precisely.
So, okay. Bringing this all back home as we start to wrap up, what does this all mean for us, for the listener who is just trying to make sense of all these crazy headlines?
I think we have to try to look through the fog of policy. You know, we're not here to mock the people receiving the money. We've established that for some, even a small amount is helpful.
Right.
But we're here to analyze the system that produces these outcomes.
The core divergence, as you called it.
Exactly. Taiwan represents one model. You have democratic pressure from voters, plus massive corporate profits, and that equals a high cash handout. It's viewed as a ban-out.
On the other side.
China represents a completely different model. You have a top-down administrative decision, plus a supply-side economic logic, and that equals a symbolic voucher. It's viewed as a favor.
And the why behind it all isn't just because one government is generous and one is cheap.
No, it's much deeper than that. It's about a fundamental difference in governance logic. China's system prioritizes macro stability, keeping the factories running, keeping the banks solvent, keeping the GDP numbers looking good.
Over micro happiness.
Over the happiness of the individual household, yes. They would rather build a bridge to nowhere that adds to the GDP figures than give you cash that you might just, save under your mattress.
So when we laugh at the math, at the 1.4 RMB, we're not just laughing at a number, we're actually laughing at the bizarre outcome of the structural constraints of a 1.4 billion person state-controlled system.
We are, and understanding that moves us from just making jokes to actually, understanding how a huge part of the world works.
Well, I have to admit, I still think 1.4 RMB is objectively funny, but I feel a lot smarter laughing about it now.
And that's really the goal, isn't it? In a world of constant information explosions, we wish all of you strong, logical, dismantling skills.
Maybe a calculator. You definitely need a calculator.
Please bring a calculator.
All right, Sip and Talkers, that is it for today's dive into the wild, wild world of stimulus math. If you enjoyed this, please smash that subscribe button for the Sip and Talk podcast. We need those numbers to go up, unlike the 1.4 RMB payout.
And for a completely different vibe, you should also check out our old friend Mickey's YouTube channel. It's called Mickey to Life.
Yes.
He's got some new travel vlogs up that are fantastic. It's zero economics, just pure vibes.
Yes. Mickey is out there living the dream for all of us. Go watch him. Until next time, everyone, keep sipping and keep talking.
See you next time.